Hey guys, Succubus here, and today we're going over all the defensive items in Honor of Kings. Probably give it a little bit of a masterclass. This is a new series. I want to get started going over all the items and equipment because I feel like a lot of people just use the presets and they don't really know what they're building. And I want to give you guys this in-depth information about all the items. First up, my credentials. I'm a former pro player and I'm currently the analyst for Kings Major West League. All right, let's get started. First one up is Dawnlight, a primarily support item here. Dawnlight makes it when you damage an enemy, you give a shield to your closest ally. It does have a 10-second cooldown, but pretty reliable, very good on characters that have a lot of health or just want to wait for them to beef up their teammates a little bit. I also sometimes build this in Clash lane as a tank if I feel like I'm in no danger of dying. I just want to keep my teammates alive a little bit more. Dawnlight is great for that. Interesting to note that Dawnlight gives you health per second, but it doesn't actually give you any base health, so it doesn't really make you that much tankier. It does supplement that lack of health by giving you and your ally a shield, but something to think about. Not always the best first item. It scales pretty well with items here, and you're likely going to be taking it on supports. Next one up, one of the best items in the game here, Blazing Cape, gives you a lot of physical defense and max HP, as well as a burn around you every second, and this burn scales off of your health, which is amazing on tanks and characters that build a lot of HP, as well as this burn reducing the enemy's health recovery and lifesteal by 35%. Even if they don't have innate healing in their kit, reducing their natural healing does end up giving you a good bit extra damage throughout the course of the game. Amazing on divers that like to jump in and are around a lot of enemies because you're spreading that anti-heal on all of the enemies that you're close to. Next up, we have Ominous Premonition here. Gives you a little bit more health and defenses than the Blazing Cape, but it doesn't do as much damage. What it actually does is reduce the enemy's attack speed and movement speed that attack you. A great item here. One of the most slept on items, I feel like. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is buy this item, and anyone that attacks you gets debuffed, right? And what are they gonna do? Not attack you? Another item here that you don't really have to do anything for here is Glacial Buckler. It gives a bit of unique stats here, not giving any health, but it gives you 20% cooldown reduction, 500 mana, and 360 physical defense. Great on characters that have shields in their abilities because that cooldown directly translates to health, or characters with very impactful abilities they want to use more frequently. Probably the highest cooldown, if not tied for the highest cooldown reduction item in the game here at 20%. And it makes it so that whenever you lose 10% or more of your current HP, you fire back an ice blast that reduces the enemy's movement speed and attack speed. Great in the middle of a fight. When you jump in, everyone's gonna be hitting you, and then you shoot off all these ice blasts in different directions throughout the fight and do a little bit of damage as well as debuffing the enemies. Next one up, we have Spike Mail. Spike Mail, a defensive item that actually gives you a little bit of physical attack, 30 physical attack and 360 physical defense. Again, not having the health does make you a little bit squishier, but it takes 25% of the physical damage taken and it reflects it back to the attacker as magical damage. And while this cannot be dodged, it will go down in damage the farther away the enemy is. And then another thing about it is the counter siege aspect. When taking physical damage exceeding 2,000 within 2 seconds, charge forth, dealing 8% magical damage. That 8% is based off your health. So if you're a really tanky fellow and you're in the middle of a team, you have all these tank items scaled up, right? You're gonna be popping back a lot of damage to your attackers. Next up is Succubus Cloak, the premier anti-mage item here. Plus 200 magical defense. Might seem a bit low, but it is misleading here, as we're gonna see in a second here. Plus 1,000 HP premium there, and plus 100 HP per every 5 seconds. That actually really matters a lot throughout a fight, and when you're not really full health, that's always going to be kicking in. And something else that's always going to be kicking in is this magic damage shield that's going to give you here 100 to 1500 magic damage shield when out of combat. That is effectively against mages 100 to 1500 extra health. On top of that, increases your magical defense by 8 to 120 as you go throughout the game. Late game, this item is basically giving you 2500 health and 320 magical defense versus mages, which is amazing. It's probably one of the best statted items here. Next up, we have Cuirass of Savagery, another item that gives you a little bit of physical attack, plus 30 physical attack, plus 220 physical defense, plus 900 max HP, and plus 5% move speed. A nice healthy amount of stats here, and a lot of fighters are going to enjoy this item a lot because they like using all of those stats there. The physical defense helps you dive towers and makes it so you don't take as much damage from objectives and neutral. So a great jungling item here. And as the passive Fearless, when taking damage, increases damage by 2% and move movement speed by 1% for 3 seconds up to 5 stacks. This is deceptively good because late game, once you're scaled up with all your items, it can give you up to 10% damage and 5% move speed. And 10% damage on a tank item is actually a lot, even if you're going full damage and no tank items, especially actually if you're going full damage and no tank items, because you're multiplying your already high damage even higher, right? So this could sometimes be a great last item here to do as much damage as a damage item, but providing you that durability and utility and move speed. Next up, we have Long Night Guardian. Not an item I see people build a lot. They usually prefer the Succubus, but I think this item is great too on some characters that get shielding here. It gives you 360 magical defense and 1000 max health. So already it gives more flat magical defense than Succubus at even the highest level here, right? Obviously it's not as good strictly as Succubus against mages here, but it has the passive Guardian, which every 7 seconds, when you take damage exceeding 30% of your health within 3 seconds, which is really common in a fight, you actually go ahead and recover back about a quarter or maybe a third of that 320 plus 8% of your HP. This is great on characters with shields because you can go ahead and take a lot of damage on your shield and it counts it as taking 30% of your max HP, and then you go ahead and heal back up your actual HP. So it's like you're converting your shield into a heal, which is really good. Next up, we have Dragon's Rage, another kind of a niche item here. Gives you pretty well-rounded stats though, 150 physical defense, 75 magical defense, and a nice healthy 1200 max HP. And it makes it so that your attacks scale off of max HP, which is interesting on some characters like Arthur maybe that wants to scale up the damage on that skill 1. Basic attacks deal 6% physical damage to minions, and then it does half of that towards enemy heroes here. Basic attacks deal 3% of your max HP and physical damage to enemy heroes. So if you're thinking about it, if you're a late game tank and you have like 15,000 HP, this could end up doing a solid amount of damage, especially if you have some penetration in your build like Axe of Torment or Arcana. Not the best item here, but it's kind of cheap at 2,000. Gives you a good well-rounded set of stats here, so something to think about. Then we got Sage's Sanctuary, one of the best items in the game, one of the premier cap out items here. 140 physical defense and 140 magical defense. Terrible stats if you think about it, but what's amazing about it is the passive Revive resurrects the user 2 seconds after dying and restores 2,100 to 3,500 health. This is notable in that it is better on carries because 3,500 health is going to be a lot for carries, but on tanks not that much. You're going to come back with like a sliver of health on tanks here, and it's amazing because it lets you do a lot of stuff. It lets you go ahead and dive under tower, take a bunch of focus here, and give you that cool off period 2 seconds for you to get your abilities back to either flash away or to react from getting one-shotted here. Late game, almost every character wants to sell their boots for this item because it's just having another life is too valuable in this game. Next up, we have Eye of the Phoenix, a super underrated item, I feel like, in solo queue and ladder play, but a monster of an item in competitive play. So this is something you guys can actually take a look at here. Eye of the Phoenix gives you 240 magical defense, 1,200 max health, which is a lot, and 100 health per every 5 seconds. So it gives you a good amount of health and healing, but the passive is where it's at. Bloodline increases health recovery by 6% for every 10% HP loss. So this means it can give you up to, I think, 59% increased healing, and this is very good on a lot of characters in this game. A lot of characters have a lot of healing. Argon is known for this item. This is a signature item, but not just Argon. A lot of characters you can think about has healing. So if you see the enemy team has some magic damage users and your character has some healing in their kit, this could be a great option. Or if you have like a Cyan or healing support, you can go ahead and build this and they'll actually heal you more, and it kind of like negates anti-heal. If you think about it, if the enemy builds anti-heal and reduces your healing and you build an item that increases your healing back, it kind of negates it, and some characters really need that healing to stay alive. Another underrated item here, we have Overlord's Plate Mail. Gives you 100 defense, 50 magical defense, and 1,500 max HP, giving you the most HP in the game off flat stats. And even when you look at the passives, even more. First passive here is Faded, increases HP by 4%. So just buying this item alone, you're going to be getting like what, how much are you getting? Like almost 1600 HP off of this item here. And then another passive recovery restores 0.5 max health every second. A recovery effect is doubled after 3 seconds if not attacked by an enemy hero or tower. So it's notable that it says enemy hero or tower, so you're going to be getting that healing even if you're jungling and hitting minions, and minions and stuff are hitting you. This is good for characters that could use some sustain, that don't have it built in their kit, that kind of want to be tanky as well. The first one that comes to mind is someone like Gugazi here, which roams around and wants to be tanky, but he doesn't really have innate sustain in his kit. It's also good on my boy Whale Guy, as this is great on characters that scale with health, as it is the item that gives you the most health in the game in a single item. All right, coming up, we have some offensive options here. We have Frostscar's Embrace here, 40 physical attack, 10% cooldown reduction, 500 mana, 240 physical defense, and 500 health. A really good mix of stats here. Everything is useful outside of probably the mana, but even characters that do not have mana love this item because it's so good. What it does is your next base attack within 5 seconds after using a skill deals extra damage, 210 to 420 to enemies, and reduces their movement speed by 15 to 30%. So it basically enhances your attack after using ability. Great on characters like Arthur or Z-Long, which love jumping in and auto attacking a lot. It only has a 1.2 second cooldown, so basically if you sync your skills up correctly, you can proc this multiple times, constantly slowing the enemies, giving characters that don't have slows a nice little slow and burst damage. Byron loves it too because it syncs up really well with his skill too. He gets to go in and blop you with that, do a bunch of increased damage, and prop Frostscar for a nice huge burst. Then we have Blood Rage. Blood Rage gives you 40 attack and 800 HP. Pretty solid stats. 40 attack is actually a lot for an item. And then it's passive here. Basic attacks deal an extra 2% health in physical damage. When health drops below 50%, this increases by 50%. So you can do up to 3% of your health in damage, similar to Dragon's Rage. Probably why Dragon's Rage is not that good is because Blood Rage is just Dragon's Rage, but better, it feels like. And then the active Blood Fury deducts 30% of your current health while progressively granting a shield that negates damage equal to 40% of your max health and grants 15 attack for 4 seconds. So this item is amazing because it is like a 2-in-1 item almost. It's a really good damage item because you press it and it gives you the extra attack, and it's a tank item because it gives you health and it gives you that massive shield. Important to note that it's 30% of your current HP. So if you use it at full HP, you're losing 30% of your HP. If you use it at, like, let's say 1 HP, you're losing 0.3% of your HP for that 40% shield. So you don't really want to activate it at the start of the fight. You kind of want to activate it in like the middle of the fight here as you're getting bursted, so that your shield can eat up all that damage and you're paying as little health as possible. But sometimes you want to one-shot someone, you can go ahead and use it because it does give you more damage. Lastly, we have Frigid Charge, another item I don't see many people use other than Marco Polos in solo queue, but in competitive is a really amazing item. Guan Yu's build it, Sun says build it, but we don't really see that in solo queue much. Frigid Charge gives you 240 defense and 1000 HP. So the stats off the bat are really good, you know, pretty solid stats in line with all the other tank items. But what it has is an amazing active. Let's go over the passive first. When affected by hard crowd control and other suppressions, grant a shield that negates 12% damage for 5 seconds. So on top of the 1000 health it gives you another 12% whenever you're getting CC'd, which is really often, right? And then the active impact stuns enemies within range of 450 for 0.5 seconds. So this gives you a stun. A stun stops all movement from the enemies that are not unstoppable, stops all their attacks, cancel abilities, whatever. So stuns are amazing. Great on initiators to jump in and chain with their current CC. Let's say you jump in on Guan Yu. You already pushed the person. They're already in a state of crowd control. They can't move. And then at the end of the push, you put them in a bad spot. You press Frigid Charge, stun them there for another 0.5 seconds. It doesn't sound like a lot, but in a fight, it really matters here. And then it's followed by a huge slow here, 25 to 50% for 1 second. The stun duration is extended by 0.25 seconds if the enemies have reduced movement speed. So if you have a character that slows people, or you have some items that slow them and you follow it up with this, it makes it they're stunned even longer, and it also reduces their attack speed. This like just stops everything about the enemy character. I want more people to build this item. It's amazing. Phantom and Winter are just upgraded versions of Blood Rage and on Frigid Charge here. They basically do the same thing, but their effects are amplified here. Phantom makes you do more damage and get a bigger shield, whereas Winter makes it so that you do more damage and have a higher range stun there. But yeah, that's all the defensive items in Honor of Kings. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video. I know sometimes it's boring to go into the game and actually read through all the items and fully understand what they mean. So popping this on either when you're at work or in the background while you're playing can go ahead and give you a nice educational boost in this game and help you out in your game. Make sure to recommend this to a friend that also plays HOK so you can let them know what some of the items do, and tell me which of the item sets you guys want me to go over next. Either physical, magical, boots maybe could be an interesting video, jungling, or even roaming. Let me know. I just want to start off with defensive items because I'm a tank player at heart. I love being my tank and support players. But yeah, thank you guys all for watching. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.